The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good yawning this morning and welcome back to Christmas Greene's show on the clock. Listen, I don't know, it's the Junkanoo music. It happened to me just now. It happened to me. I catch it. See, I guess you could call me a seasonal Junkanoo. Like seasonal, right? It's only a scrapper. I scrap. I only need 5 minutes to get ready for Bay. Once that music hit, I ready. It's Christmas time. It's something about Junkanoo and Christmas music. It may be the horns. It may be the drums. It may be the cowbells. I don't know. It's something about it. But that right there, you blame the producer. Blame the producer. In fact, I hope I could blame him every day because it's Junkanoo season. Y'all prepare yourself to listen to Junkanoo music. I think everybody is happy at this point. Everybody's happy. Junkanoo's on Bay. See, that's the most important thing. I hope you all realize you got to center that, right, in your formulation. Because who Bay for? Who is Bay for? Bay have to be for us. It has to be. It's like the beach access, right? I tell you all the time, this beach access thing we have where a person owns a piece of property, but there's an access way, right? It's almost grandfathered in. It's a private access, but for the purpose of public access to the beach. To maintain the private access, they have to close it 1 day a year. Just 1 day a year, they close it, right? It's kind of the same thing with Junkanoo. We can let y'all do what y'all feel you have the authority to do with Bay Street. You can run the vermin, but you mean people, right? You can run them off of Bay Street. That's cool. You put all the fancy buildings that we can't go into. That's cool. There ain't no parking there for anybody but taxis. Why? They park anywhere they want anyway. That's cool. That's okay. We can work with that. You know what I'm saying? All the buildings and businesses on Bay Street, the people who catch the bus and have to come through Bay Street every day, they can't afford none of that stuff. But that's cool. That's okay. We can work with you. Because when it's time for us to be on Bay, we're going to be on Bay. We're going to reclaim it, right? We should have known everything would distill right back down to Bay. Because the purpose it's of reclaiming, right? The theme for Equality Bahamas is 16 Days of Global Activism is reclaiming our power. So that's a part of that practice. It's not just the fun and the rivalry and the bears and the chairs. There's a ritual. There's a practice. There's something that's happening whether you understand what you're participating in or not. Right? It's that opportunity to claim Bay, what's supposed to be the most powerful road in the country. If Junkanoo is not on Bay Street, who Bay Street for then? Because if it's not for the people that have to walk Bay Street to get where they're going, because all the buses except for the 15, run through Bay. Maybe the 15 and the 12, but most of them run on Bay Street, right? Who Bay for? Got to be for us. That's our relationship with the Junkanoo. We can't all Junkanoo. We can't all get on Bay. But we support those who go to maintain the ritual. Every year, we reclaim Bay Street. Who Bay for? Who it for if it ain't for us? Who could it be for? It is ours. Just like Junkanoo is ours. In the same way, you could only keep what you work for. You could only keep and hold what you create. Each generation has to step in and create as well. The generation above has to create space. If you don't create space for them to create, they can create a space without you. It's just science. It's just science. Anyway, to start Junkanoo music, blame the producer. At the same time, I want to say good morning to all of the staff at the Ministry of Health and Wellness that organized the launch of the National Health Strategy 2026-2030 last night. It was a mammoth task preparing the strategy, figuring out what the strategy would look like and how you would get to the strategy. The strategy has been produced, and we look forward to discussing the strategy on the show today. But I just want to say good morning to all, because there's plenty of young people working hard last night. Say good morning to those young people who ain't so young, but you claiming youngness. I don't blame you. All of y'all. Lots of effort put into the event last night. And we say thank you again. I look forward to it, to see what the national strategy is and to see in which direction we're going. This is important for people, because here's how it works, right? Like, I don't need to be a member of PHA or a member of the government or a member of a political party. I should be able to, as an entrepreneur, as a business person, as an advocate, tune in to the state's mechanisms and what it's producing to identify spaces in which I could develop a business or my organization, right? So if the national strategy is has a focus on renal care, because we see increasing numbers of people experiencing kidney issues, then you as a young person may decide that you're going to specialize in renal care. That's maybe 5 years of training for that speciality. That's why these documents are important. That's why it's important for them to be published, right? Because there are people who are not tied in, clued in, locked in to the government's policy agenda or to the administration's policy agenda, but through access to national documents produced by national agencies, they should be able to read a landscape and make determinations and choices about where they're going to go in the future. Especially important for parents and young people who are having conversations about careers, sustainability, right? It's important to understand, and these are the opportunities when the general public get to see what the policy is and how or where they can create a space for themselves, their agency, their business, maybe even their community. So imagine somebody says, hey, listen, we way out in one of these southern parts of the southern corridor. This may be a wonderful place for a renal care residential facility for family islanders who have to travel to New Providence for care. It's close to the airport. We are building more medical and healthcare facilities on the western end of the island, right? Knowing that the hospital is going to be on the northern end of the island, knowing where the government intends to put new roads over the next 10 years, helps people sit down and determine how they're going to invest their resources into national programs, right? Things that are sustainable because the government says that we are taking these things on. That's the value of these spaces. And I don't know. I love working for Guardian. Guardian, we need a community announcements page. And then we need a policy. I mean, I know Mr. Lang in the daytime does it, but maybe also an evening policy session where we walk through policy papers with the public so people could identify their location in the government's agenda, right? That's how we work together. I don't expect the government to do everything we say, but the government should make what they say available to us so we could figure out where we located. All right, I got 2 texts here. What is the national health strategy? I thought we dispelled the myth that Junkanoo has to be on Bay to be Junkanoo. Who is we? Who is we? Are you? No, we haven't dispelled the myth. Where did the conversation take place? The only place you could tell me that conversation take place is Junkanoo Talks or Junkanoo Rush with Charmaine V. Roll, right? Like, tell me y'all had a serious conversation about that. About the historic, the cultural, political aspects of Junkanoo. You tell me that. The Texans say, we is us. No, us ain't talk about nothing. But I appreciate what you're saying. It is a conversation that we still have to have. Anyway, let me bring my guest into the studio. My guest is here representing an organization, an important organization, Hands for Hunger, right? We're doing a year in review. We're looking back at what Hands for Hunger has done this year, and Hands for Hunger is going to tell you what they need: support, volunteerism, volunteers to continue their massive agenda. We're going to talk about the partners they work with, both those who support them through the donation of goods, and then those organizations they distribute to, the pantry, the food reclaiming project. We can talk about all of that this morning, but we're going to highlight some stats on food insecurity, like what people are really dealing with. For me, the cultural aspects are always, that conversation is always exciting. Joining us is Mrs. Keisha Ellis, and we're going to delve into those conversations. Now, I wanted to bring her in because Ms. Ellis is also a lecturer at the University of the Bahamas in politics, straight politics?
Political science, political philosophy.
There you go.
Good
right?
morning, everyone. Hi.
Everything have a politic.
Absolutely.
The politics of things. We normally, when we hear politics, we say FNM, PLP, COI, DNA, CDR, right? But beyond that, everything has a politic, and it's important to understand that politic so that you could understand the thing and what it is that you're doing. And so that conversation on Junkanoo, right? I want to say, Texter, stop saying such exciting things amongst excitable people, because you must expect excitement, right? But even food has a politic, right? There's the politics of food as well as the culture of food, and those two are inextricable. You can't separate them entirely, right? And as a agro-business consultant, the politics of food and the culture of food is always on my mind, just like food is always on my belly.
Absolutely. I think people, we like to put politics and economics in a little corner on the side, right? But for better or worse, oftentimes for worse, everything that we do in a society and a culture, everything that we understand about ourselves and what we want and what we think is right, that is so steeped in politics and economics to the point where we don't even recognize it sometimes. When I talk to my students, I'm like, what we are going to do is we are a bunch of fish in an ocean, and we are trying to describe that ocean. We have never known anything else. We can't see outside of this ocean, but we can figure out how to see it and then describe it and analyze it and imagine something different.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Y'all don't have no free seats in the class. I like complimentary seats.
I believe education should be free. If you want to sit in, come and sit in.
And one of the most exciting things is to talk about the politics of food and the culture of food. Like, I don't know how often people think about when we're talking about food consumption and food consumption culture, we like to say, poor people just making poor choices. Mm-hmm. You're always on that drive-through, you're always on that fast food line, whether drive-through or stand-up. But rarely, I think, do people think about the politics that inform the choices that people make around food. I give you just a quick example for the young people, right? Remember that thing we used to call the Cutter Special? It is an attempt it's derogative, right? It's derogative. It suggests that some women will do anything for a cheap meal, right? Just for a cheap meal, you could get a girl to do anything, right? And then they'll say, and add blue mystic, and ooh. right? Without exploring the politics of food and the choices and the things happening in that space. And I tell people oftentimes, you always make fun of people without thinking. First of all, if I like you, you can buy me anything. If I like you, I can tell you, no, don't. Why you going to the fancy place to spend up all your money? Let's go to Bamboo Shack and get something small. Because I like you. I want you to do what you need to do to be strong, right? Mm-hmm. In many instances, women, they take their food home to share with their family or with their kids or with their mom. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, years ago, right, with the last household expenditure survey that we had, it was determined that it was like $4 a day was enough money for you to get, for an adult living in the Bahamas to get adequate nutrition for the day, right? So at Hands for Hunger, we put this to the test. At Hands for Hunger and in my classroom, right? We put it to the test. I'm like, let's experiment with it. Let's see what happens. And what my students found, as well as the public that participated in it, was that, look, no one is actually surviving on $4 or less. What people are doing is supplementing that $4 with finding access to free food other places that they can, right? And so what my students especially discovered was that they were making decisions around how are they going to get food, right? So should I stay home and study, or do I get in this car with these people because I know wherever they go in, I might have access to food.
I could share, like if they get, I could have a few fries.
Exactly.
Somebody give me a bite of their burger.
Exactly.
That's going to be enough to get me through the day.
Yeah. And some people found opportunities through church. Some students were like, well, I was going to church more often because I know they was going to have food afterwards. Other people were choosing parties, right? Other people were choosing other social interactions that they ordinarily would have declined, but they was like, well, I need to try get my belly full.
I went to the launch last night. One thing about government or public service culture and institutional knowledge is that for forever, all my life, what I know is if the government calling you to a meeting at the end of the day, after the workday, right after the workday, which disrupts your normal schedule of stopping to the shop and buying that little snack till you get home to cook, or of having your formal meal, they provide snacks, appetizers, hors d'oeuvres to pull you through because they've asked you to come. They understand that they've disrupted your normal work and eating schedule, your life schedule. And so they feed you. I have a healthy culture of volunteerism because I know if you go into a government meeting, there will be food. There will be snack. If it's a lunchtime meeting and we disrupting your normal lunch schedule, we will provide an adequate lunch. Social services was great with that, and it was healthy. It was a healthy lunch, right? Because they understand the politics of food and food consumption for professional people. Right? For businesses, do you all understand? Like the lunch break starts at 11.
Right.
That's when people start breaking for lunch. The food have to be ready at 11:30.
Right.
Right? Do you realize that your customers on the line are frustrated because they're trying to balance the time? The decisions they make about where they go to eat are based on what they can access reasonably quickly or efficiently in the limited amount of time available to me, which is an hour. I got to get there, eat, get back to work, right?
Right.
And so do businesses understand the need to hit that timeline, but also to move at a pace that moves as many people through as quickly as possible so you could capture as much as of that revenue before they have to logistically choose another option. And here's what's worse for a business in terms of like the politics of how we consume food. If I wait on that line because I feel a loyalty or something to this business, I like the food, and it takes me so long that I have to make a decision to leave and I can't get anything, I have no more time, I'm mad at you and I may not come back tomorrow.
Of course.
Right? And so thinking about these things, no matter where you are, what you do, and these are important. Y'all don't think little children have to think about this every day?
Yeah, I know, but see, Erin, you upsetting me now.
Okay, go on.
Right? because what we are describing is just an entire system that's not working for human development and human flourishing, right? We should not have to confine our eating, right, to that cycle you just described, right? And yes, and so now we are all frustrated. We are all upset, and everyone is stressed out because I only have 45 minutes to hurry up, eat this, and go. And no, I'm not expecting the freshest, healthiest, right, most intricate meal. I try to get something deep fried and quick because of that entire situation you just described. And yes, our students in school feel the same way. Right? They are also rushed. They are also settling for food that is quick and convenient rather than nutritious. And it's because we are all in service to this other thing that exists. And that thing is not our health, our well-being.
And let me acknowledge this right now. When I walked in, the first thing I say to you is, you bring the two hands, I bring the hunger, but you ain't bring no food, miss. And then the first thing you said to me is, you're not food insecure, ma'am. And you're correct. Right? The only issue I have is trying to decide what in my house I want to cook. Right? And it's not to say I got the best of everything, but I got food, right? I got grits, I got flour, I got rice, I got a couple can of tomato paste, right? I got one bottle of fresh tomato left, right, from the season.
Yeah.
And so I got the time to think about these things. I'm not constantly thinking about what's next, what am I going to eat next, and God forbid you're a parent. I'm not constantly thinking about what's the next meal going to be, how am I going to feed them, how am I going to send them to school.
And that is what we talk about when we say food insecurity. It's not I'm sick, I'm hungry right now, but I working late. Right? It's not I stuck in this government meeting, why they ain't feed me yet. It's
that ain't it at all.
Right. It's not only do I not have food right now, but I don't know when I'm going to get food again. It's not a matter of when I get home I could eat, or I hope I ain't too tired to cook. It's that when I get home, I won't have options there either. And Erin, I'd want to let the record reflect that immediately after determining you ain't food insecure, I corrected myself and apologized.
Yeah,
because
you don't know.
I know that there's no way I can look at a person and determine whether or not they are food insecure.
Right. And I am hovering in a place, the $4. Before we get into some stats for this year, let's talk about the Below the Poverty Line project, because that was a whole campaign. I remember we talked about it every year on Guardian Radio. Guardian Radio hosts and staff participated in the $4, the Below the Poverty Line
Yeah, it was
challenge.
called Dine on the Line.
There you go.
Dine on the Line.
Right, and so after the study...
Right, the household expenditure survey of... don't get me wrong, 2012.
Okay.
Right? It was determined that the poverty line was $11 a day. And what the poverty line means is that if you have at least this amount of money that we determine, then you're technically not poor. You can make it. You'll be fine. You're not living in poverty. And in 2012, it was determined that number was $11 a day. And for food, it was $3.82. Actually. And so what we did was like, let's put this to the test. If you're telling me if I have $4 a day to spend on food, then I'm doing okay.
Yeah. So let's go to the caller, and then we're going to get back into that. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, good morning, Erin. Good morning to your guest.
Morning.
Good morning.
I have some concerns with this $4. I just never could have wrapped my head around it and how it's calculated, even though I'm still listening to your guest. And another thing, growing up in the Bahamas, we have never had this high level of food dependency. I've never seen it. All over the place you turn, you can see people feeding the public. And it seems to me that it isn't slowing down and it's getting worse based on the amount of NGOs I see who are feeding people, including the church. Now, my question is this the new Bahamas going forward? And this is how we're going to be? Or are we ever going to get a handle on this? Because growing up, we all had families, and food was one of the last things we had to really worry about. I don't know, or maybe this problem had existed, and it's just because of the advent of social media, it's magnified the way it is. But what is really going on with the Bahamian, and who are these people are we really feeding?
Thank you. That was a lot of good questions in there. The first one with the $4 one, I don't think we need to think too hard about that, right? Because what that was a determination based on statistics that weren't actually reflective of real life, right? Which is what our experiment showed, right?
Yeah.
So we ain't got to worry about that too much. Plus, that study's over a decade old. We're expecting the new survey out next year. Hopefully, we'll see what the new numbers are, and then we'll put those to the test as well, right?
I want to say to the thing, historically, a little context. I grew up with stories from my parents, my mother, my family on the Fort Hill, and they used to talk about this magical hog plum tree. They could eat from that hog plum tree all day for days and days. It's like they was in the war and nobody was feeding them, but that hog plum tree could feed them, and they would eat that. And I remember being young and going in the bush and finding fruit as well,
Right.
and spending summers eating one meal, maybe 2 meals, breakfast and dinner, and then the whole day is just eating fruit in the bush and salty and cup.
Yeah.
Those trees are disappearing
Right.
with the development. So like that natural thing that people traditionally would like.
Yeah. So yeah, Carla, is you touched on something really important and really kind of difficult to really pin down, right? Because there are so many factors involved, right? And one of it is development. Right? It's commercialization. It's the idea of, okay, what you do is you move to the city and you try to get a job. And if you get a job, then you could buy your food.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to worry about planting trees or fishing or any of that old-fashioned subsistence living. We moving beyond that. Right? It's perceived globally, not just in the Bahamas, that kind of living is less than urban living, where you can work and then go to a grocery store and buy your food, right? So if that is the life plan that we're telling people, and we're telling people that this is the marker of success, that you don't have to worry about growing your own food, you don't have to worry about foraging for food by picking off a tree, then that's when you see the cracks starting to show in the system, because that's when you realize, hold on, I am making money, but food costs more than I make. And that's when you start seeing the challenges come up. So we do look like we're better off economically, but in actuality, we're not focusing on the things that we actually need to survive.
Yeah, just on the surface it looks good, but people are still not. I wouldn't say conciled, right? They're still not aligned with culture hasn't shifted with the environment. Is what you say. Like our food culture hasn't shifted with the environment, or the food culture has shifted with the environment, but in a negative way, not in a positive way.
I think that what it is our understanding of what it is to exist has shifted to suit the development, right? So it's everything is about paycheck and then buying. I get a paycheck, I buy. So you sacrifice as much time as you possibly humanly can in order to get a bigger paycheck so that you can buy more things, when there might be an opportunity there for you to acknowledge your human needs outside of the paycheck.
So like while you were talking, I was thinking about the oven, the baker, right? And then the portable stovetop that's now commonplace. Right? And so I think we could speculate that the people who are using the burner, the tabletop stovetop burner, right, that they can't afford a oven.
Right.
I think they could afford an oven. Some people.
Yeah, maybe.
If they organize, right? If they organize economically and structurally within their family system, they could afford an oven. But when we identify the gap, is the stovetop burner the only solution or strategy, right? Because then I think, okay, not everybody had an oven. What did people who traditionally never had an oven do?
Right.
Well, did they have access to a stone oven? Did they
Perhaps.
Did they construct something, family island, like you say, old time indigenous culture, that they were able to use for these things? A second thing, the oven used to be outside. Or in a portion of the home that's sort of slightly detached from the main home, because we understood the heat. Right. And so now our light bills are killing us because we got to cool down the house every time we turn on the oven, right?
Exactly.
Like the politics, and was anybody thinking in that gap there, should we be constructing like Elizabeth Estates, government
Right.
housing subdivision, Should we be constructing homes now in a different way, where there's a communal outdoor
Right.
oven in a designated area, right? Then are the fires, do we have the fire, is that why we haven't been promoting that idea? Because we know that we don't necessarily have the fire services in case fires break out, right? Like,
Maybe, see, Erin, that's the thing. Like every time we have these conversations and we think about it, right? I don't know. I'm sure there are practical reasons why we moved away from it, right? It's just that it's very clear to me that those practical reasons, the humanity behind it was like the third or fourth or fifth thing that was considered.
Yeah.
Right. So everything that you say, yeah, there are fire hazards. There are other practical issues why that might not work. But the issue is we don't even consider it. We could fix it. We could solve those issues if we wanted to, but we don't see it as a priority.
listen, that's the music. When we get back from the break, I have a text here that says, kindly ask Ms. Ellis if she is willing to work with the government, maybe handle a feeding program for the government. So when we get back from the break, I gotta ask you, would a government-run feeding program be as effective or more effective than what exists now? How can the existing programs partner more effectively with the government? And what would maybe a sense of what would a government-led, like would BAMSI and BAIC be essential or integral parts of that? How, I'm not necessarily how they would their work shift, but on the other side of the break, and more texts from the listeners. You guys
Right.
stay tuned. I want to be Christmas Greene. This boy want me to be Junkanoo Greene. Bad. I love them all. We'll be right back.
Hey, you know what's going down tomorrow?
Nobody, what happening?
Joe bringing these knives to school. He could do Junior in.
For what?
But he fooled with Joe girl.
Mother sick. And you know, Junior don't back down for nothing. So that means you got a big fight tomorrow.
So whose side you on?
Side? I trying to stay in school, not Simpson Pen. We gotta tell somebody about this fight.
Tell somebody. I ain't no snitch. I mean cool, you know.
Wait, if you so cool, then you need to stay in school and stay out of the fight.
Yeah, but if I don't hang on Joe's side, him and these boys coming for me next.
All right, so we definitely gotta tell somebody. We gotta prevent the fight.
What I say, I don't want nobody call me snitch.
We could just call Crime Stoppers. You could report what you know, and nobody gotta know it's you.
So how did I boy?
All you gotta do is call them, or you text them through the Crack Crime Bahamas app, and nobody can know it's you.
Then the police come looking for me for more info, and when they finish with them, Joe them coming looking for me?
When you call Crime Stoppers, the calls go directly to Miami, and they don't ask nothing about you. Then you can get the pen from them, and they can claim a reward later using that same pen.
Plus, everything's scrambled, so nobody can read what you're saying.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
For fast, reliable, and impactful printing services, look no further. Let Printmasters bring your masterpiece to life. We stand by our quality products that is second to none. Our affordable pricing and friendly, efficient staff makes Printmasters the ultimate choice for all your printing needs. We can deliver any type of printing services, from banners to booklets to business cards. You name it, we can print it.
Let Printmasters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
At Cleveland Clinic, you set your course, not cancer. So when your journey takes an unexpected turn, you seek out the experts who've conquered it before, and you forge new paths to help fight cancers. For every route to a cure, for every care in the world. See how we're innovating cancer care at Cleveland Clinic today.
This holiday season, give yourself the gift of a fresh start with a personal loan at Fidelity. You could win refreshing prizes like a luxurious spa day, John Boat gift certificates, a cruise for two, and more. Make that move to a fresh start today. Call 356-7764. Promotion ends December 19th.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app. Nassau, Bahamas.
Welcome back to On the Clock with Junkanoo Greene. See why y'all gotta have Junkanoo at Christmas? Because then I wouldn't be jealous. I wouldn't be jealous. Miss Ellis, let's respond to the text.
So that's a big question. So, well, Hands for Hunger is an independent, non-governmental organization. That's important. People sometimes get it confused. So we are independent. We are completely privately funded through donations. So them $5 you sent us to our website, that ticket you buy to our event, that is how we function. We don't get any money from the government. I think that a lot of your callers would remember that we did partner with the government for the COVID-19 Food Task Force. And I think that was it was a success. Like Hands for Hunger, we were able to reach so many people across the country, and the partnership was so rewarding and beneficial to us because we were able to do so much more with the support of the government and in conjunction with the government and all of the other nonprofit organizations. So it was really monumental for us. As we know, turmoil came up after that, where our credibility was called into question. But then, all's well that ends well. The auditor's report determined that, everyone involved did good work and did support the community during a global crisis, right? So that being said, I recognize the reach that we're able to have when we work together. And I am all for eradicating hunger in this country. And I am willing to work with any entity or body or person who is also committed to eradicating hunger in the Bahamas.
And I think it's less sort of forcing what in some places may be an unnatural merge, right? I think what's more important is a coordinating mechanisms to identify and strategize, right? The best way to coordinate the efforts of existing organizations. If they stand alone, let them be standalone. Let's figure out how an independent standalone organization can interact with the government and partner with a government agency,
Perhaps.
But go on.
I can say from my perspective, though, I think a part of the question as well was, is this something that we can actually fight? Like, can we actually fight hunger? And the answer is yes. And the short answer, the answer is yes. Hands for Hunger is a tiny organization. 6 of us work at Hands for Hunger. There are 6 of us, right? Our budget is, we operate on a budget, and I'll be frank, of about $400,000 a year, right? And that includes the food that is donated to us, right? We count donated food. We count the value of that into our budget.
Stick a pin. I also saw some say 1 for 3. So like for every, you have a partnership with distributors, and you all use special math. So like for every $50 you bring in, they're willing to provide you with up to $150 worth of goods?
So the way it works, right, because we leverage these partnerships, because we leverage these donations, right, and because we ask for discounts everywhere we go. If you donate $50 to us and say you want to support a family, that's what we ask, right? Give us $50, we will provide food for a family for a month. We determine that the value of the items in that food package is actually $150 if you were to go and individually buy each one of those items yourself from the food store.
I got you.
And that's because we make it make sense, right? That we include the donations, we leverage the discounts, and we buy in bulk, right? So that means that, you give us $50, we can provide $150 worth of food for people.
Man, that's I like that math, and I like that your partners, the distributors, the wholesalers, are working with y'all with that formula.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Families need a coordinating mechanism. Like, you need to appoint one person in the family whose job it is to focus on what everybody's eating.
Yeah.
And that requires a cultural shift, right? Because the first thing is, don't look in my mouth.
Right.
Don't look in my belly. But you may not have the time. The parents, they work in, they may not have the time. But you may have a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old is showing like the initiative and they have a penchant. They like buying things.
Yeah.
You have a daughter who like buying things and always taking you to the mall. Now is the time to show her socioeconomics, right?
Yep.
So she then becomes the coordinating mechanism in the family because her motivation is the family saving money so she could buy more things.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And I mean, there are definitely ways to do it. If I always say Hands for Hunger we have over 7,000 families on our pantry. We have pantries in 15 schools. We support 50 agencies. We distribute food as far south as Anagua and Acklands, right? So my point is, if we could do it, the 6 of us, you can't tell me the government can't do it if there was deliberate focus.
Yeah, absolutely. Pantries in schools.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Does that mean I know I wasn't able, I didn't make enough tips to put lunch money aside for Shorty Boy today?
Right.
Does that mean when Shorty Boy goes to school, he can have lunch, he can have breakfast and lunch? Or does it mean that he can ask for a small package to take home for the family?
Right. So what the school pantry is, it is an emergency food source for any child in that school who doesn't have lunch, right? So that's Shorty Boy who mommy didn't have money to give him. And that's also Shorty Boy who leave his lunch bag on the kitchen counter because he was rushing. Right?
Right.
So it is, you don't have to prove your chronic food insecurity to benefit from the pantry. It's any student in school that we have a pantry. If you have forgotten your lunch, if you've forgotten your lunch money, if you've lost your lunch money, you can go to your guidance counselor or your principal and they'll provide you with, something quick, something ready to eat.
Because children should not have to prove, they should not have to validate these things. Let's go to the phone line quickly. Good morning, caller.
Hello.
Good morning. How you do, LeBron?
I good. Quick question. So Thanksgiving just passed, we know. Did they offer any plates to those who were in need?
All right.
Did they give any? Yeah.
So plates versus pantry boxes?
Anything to help, to help in the needy.
All right.
Those who needed it.
Well, thank you. That's a great question, right? And so our pantry is open all year round, right? We have our trucks on the road 7 days a week collecting, distributing food, right? So when it comes to things like Thanksgiving, but when it comes to an event like Thanksgiving, no, the truth is we don't prioritize giving out plates of food because we know how expensive a plate of food is versus a food box, right? So because we know this is a year-round thing for us, and we also know that when January comes around, the need increases in January without fail, right? So what we do is rather than prioritizing a celebratory meal on the fourth Thursday in November, right? We continue to pool our resources and we continue to make sure that our pantry can exist for families who are going to need food regularly and not just that plate. And at the same time, we love to see other people stepping in and showing off and giving other plates of food. We love to see the charitable spirit that is so evident during this time of year. And it allows us to continue focusing on turning that $50 into $150 year round if we have so many other groups and entities stepping up during this time of year.
Absolutely. Okay, let's run through this fact sheet. Can I find this fact sheet online for students who are doing research? Can I find this online?
Yes. So I'll be honest. I'm almost certain that's on our website. And if it's not on our website, it'll be on it before I leave this call right now.
Handsforhunger.org.
Handsforhunger.org. And follow us on social media. We are always updating things. Our social media is regularly updated. You can find all this information.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Facebook, Instagram.
LinkedIn?
Little bit of LinkedIn, little bit of TikTok. We getting better.
All right. So food rescue, 3 million pounds of food. Meals, 3 million pounds of food equals 3 million meals. Well, that amount of food has been served.
Yeah, so what the 3 million pounds of food rescued is that since we've started, right, we've collected 3 million pounds of fresh edible food, cooked food. We talking rice, chicken, pasta, macaroni, sometimes lobster, sometimes lamb, right? And we have rescued that and saved that from going into the trash, and into the bellies of people who need it. And I want to make it clear, this is fresh food. This is, if a hotel is having a conference and realize that half of the people didn't show up to the conference. Before Hands for Hunger, that food would have just gone in the trash.
Or to me, because I volunteer for this very reason. Yes, ma'am.
And since Hands for Hunger, we can collect that and distribute that right away in our refrigerated trucks to, people who can use it to serve the community. And that was our backbone for a long time. That was our sole operation for about 10 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah, until COVID, until we started branching out and realizing that, and there's a lot more we can do, and we're going to do it.
Okay. The 40 agencies that you support include 5 senior homes, 2 children's homes, 4 rehab centers, and 9 live-in facilities. That's awesome, along with the walk-in pantry and the client list.
Right. So our pantry and our school pantries is separate from the community organizations that we help.
Okay.
So that food that we rescue from a hotel that had a conference, we drop that to organizations that are doing their own feeding. Right. So either they have live-in clients that they need to provide food for, or they're running a soup kitchen out of their church, like the previous caller mentioned.
All right. And $3,800 to support school pantries per month.
I know.
Just give me the contact information, where to send the money.
handsforhunger.org/donate, right? And everything you donate goes directly to our programs. And in addition to that, we have an option for you to tell us if there's a particular program that you actually want to see your money go to. So if you give us $10 through our website, you can choose exactly how you want us to spend that $10.
Ms. Ellis, I just get row.
Oh, Lord.
The text to say, hold on. What you mean you have the person who composed the People's Constitution, the layman's version of the Constitution in ordinary people language in studio, and you ain't introduce her as that. I just want you all to know that this is the Keisha Ellis. The texter says they have a group who can help. How can we help, and when can we help over the holidays? Are there any flyers for specific distribution events? I give them a number they could reach out to and just say, hey, I was the person who texted the show.
Well, absolutely. I would say you can send us a Facebook message right now, or send us an email right now, info@handsforhunger.org. We are not the kind of organization that when you send a message, it goes into the ether and disappears. No, we are checking.
You got somebody at the phone right now.
Absolutely. We absolutely have people at the phone right now. And we love support. And I'd like to say, right, because we're having a real conversation, right? It is not, when we ask you to donate to Hands for Hunger, we're not asking you to donate to us for a special Christmas giveaway. Right, we actually have boxes of food going on the mailboat right now to go to Athens, Long Island, Exuma. This is every day for us. So honestly, if you're coming to Hands for Hunger and you're like, hey, I want to feel really good and put on Santa hats and go, feed soup to some people, we are perhaps not the best organization for that, because what we're doing is we are consistently feeding people year round.
Is there space for a civic organization like a Rotary, Kiwanis, to come in and say, hey, we would like to incorporate ourselves into a formal volunteer program?
Yes, and we actually have a lot of requests for that. And I mean, we were talking about the year in review, but starting next year, or restarting next year, actually, this is a vow. This is part of our strategic plan. We want to see Hands for Hunger back in the community even more. Right? For a long time, we had community markets where we would set up on a park and just distribute free food to people. Mm-hmm. Right? Once we started our pantry, we started inviting the community to come to our pantry. But now we realize that organizations want to be in the community. They want to distribute, and Hands for Hunger is going to be available to start helping them get into the community and feeding neighborhoods that need it.
I think this is a community effort, but at the root of it, it's a beginning of a personal journey, a shift in culture and how we consume food, right? Even if you are not food insecure, this conversation is for you. Am I consuming far more food than I need? Am I wasting food because I'm cooking it but not eating it? Could this food be consumed by others? But to begin that personal journey, listen, you can tune in to an Equality Bahamas event this evening, Tuesday the 9th of December, Reclaiming Health with Dr. Indira Martin. Dr. Martin gave a talk at the Future of Democracy 4 conference when we explored the importance of the gut biome, your belly, right? And I reframed it. Is your belly driving your brain, or is your brain driving your belly? So that's happening tonight. Go to lu.ma/16 days 25 to register, or go to Equality Bahamas' website or their Facebook page or their Instagram page to find the link there. And then tomorrow we have Reclaiming Human Rights with Gaynell Curry on the last day of the 16 days of global activism. I got a text here that says, great job, Miss Ellis and Hands for Hunger, and what Hands for Hunger is doing. Why in Agua and Acklands Island, the people on the island traditionally feed the people who need food to eat. This may be a special issue. Well, let's talk about mail boats and food distribution systems and what happens when the mail boat is 3 weeks later than it was supposed to arrive, or what your family put on the boat didn't actually come this trip. Oh, the politics of food and consumption of food in the Bahamas. Producer, I want to say thank you very much for your patience to the audience and the texters. And I get when elder in the community say, listen, even the dilly, the gooseberry, the mangola, the bananas, the avocado, the pigeon plum, the soursop, breadfruit, and many more. Yeah, the older people had a different food supply. The culture shifted, and we got to shift along with it. You guys have a great day. My producers say Guardian Radio AM with C.A. Muri is up next. Thank you, Miss Ellis, and thank you, Hands for Hunger.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.